Welcome to Creativity, the podcast where art and engineering collide. In this podcast, we discuss our personal creative endeavors, ranging from woodworking to electronics to arts and life in general. My name is Jeremy S. Cook, and this is my co-host, Max Maker.
Hi, everybody.
Our special guest this week is Alex Wilson, someone that I've actually worked with in the past. Alex is an engineering technician, an Army veteran with a wide variety of interests ranging from coding, entrepreneurship, music, and even aquaponics. Today we'll discuss Alex's pursuits and even get into the pros and cons of going out on your own.
So, Alex, let me ask you, how did you get into programming?
Wait. Before we get into some of your interests, Alex, like coding, etc., we had a great discussion last week on what tool brands we preferred. My favorite, of course, is what have you found to be the best?
Well, I can attest to only the I've used at work, which is only a drill, but in personal use, I like the newer stuff. The older stuff is a little unreliable, but the stuff that's it's cheap. The batteries, they're continuously good. And granted, I don't do a ton of projects. I've never had anything die on me, including a what would that be called? Just a Zaza power saw that I just recently used to cut through some plumbing, which hit dirt.
Oh boy, so much stuff I have to blurt out. I bought one thing from and it's like a countersunk. It's a drill, a pre-drill and a countersunk combined. Yes. And it's not sharp at all. It couldn't cut into plastic.
Oh, wow.
Like, it doesn't work at all. And I bought this in America, you know. I flew all the way over there just to get this.
Right, and your trip that you went to Florida where you, just to go to Home Depot and Harbor Freight, correct? Was that?
Exactly.
Wow.
Very disappointed. And the worst thing is they come with Allen keys. But they are not metric, of course. They're American.
Yeah, I mean, of course.
Can't tighten them up.
That's the best.
Imperial.
I mean, you guys try to come over here and, tell us to use the metric system. I mean, just because it's all divisible by 10,
Let's not get into this.
Just because it's easier to calculate doesn't mean it's better, right?
Of course, yeah. Yeah, absolutely right. I love how is it called? The Imperial system. Yeah. So, Alex, now that we got this out of the system, tell us a little bit about you. Who are you? What do you do?
Okay. Right now, I'm an engineering tech at a reliable sprinkler. But really, I love programming and making music. Those are really my two biggest passions. Programming was a weird thing that came later in life as somewhat of a necessity, but also kind of like this ability to build projects with unlimited resources because there's no cost for bits. So that was pretty fun.
What do you mean no cost for bits? Because it's digital.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you can build infinite size things so long as your computer's powerful enough to handle it.
Very true, yeah. That's very true. And so how did you get into programming? Because you said it was kind of by force?
Right, yeah. I was trying to find a job after the military, and I kind of developed this idea, hey, maybe I'll love programming. I know they make good salaries. And I accidentally fell in love with it. I thought it was just going to be something to be a profession, but it is a way of thinking. I think I apply a programmatic way of thinking to pretty much everything I do now.
Yes, well, that's what we engineers do, I guess.
That's true.
But how actually physically did you sit down and start read a book, or did you do tutorials?
Okay, so first I went to school for it, and that was surprisingly not useful. It gave me the background.
Like a community college?
Right, exactly, yes. I went to a community school. It's called Tri-County Tech. I went there for a 2-year degree, and I learned the fundamentals. It wasn't that the education was bad. It was just that it didn't teach me anything about programming that I actually wanted to do. We didn't really cover data science. We didn't cover web development, anything like that. We basically learned how to manipulate things at the processor level. So it's not very exciting to me.
I mean, that sounds kind of fun to me. I mean, so they were actually teaching you how, this bit goes in and this bit goes out. Is that right? Kind of the lower level stuff?
C was our starting language, and assembly was another one we learned that was quite low when you're actually manipulating the memory registers inside the CPU. Yes.
Oh, wow. Very specific. And
yes,
I think very far away from an iPhone app, right?
Quite a bit, yes. Yes.
The programming you do now, I mean, I know you've integrated a Raspberry Pi into some of the stuff at work, but, you use something called ladder logic. And I think that's something that most programmers are not familiar with. Can you maybe talk about that a little bit? And what, I mean, did you learn anything about that in
Yeah,
school?
the second time I went through, yes, they taught us quite a bit about ladder logic. And it's interesting having seen it from both sides of the aisle because it kind of shows you how almost everything is programming because, uh, you know, a circuit is essentially a program. You're just not typing, you're using wires to make statements and execute functions. So it's kind of it was a neat parallel to see how ladder logic is essentially a drawn circuit that represents code. So I thought it was cool, and it's kind of expanded my ability to think about what a program is.
So is that like a language or is it a way of thinking?
It's really both. Are you, of course you're familiar with circuits. So you basically ladder logic. You have your positive side on one side of the ladder, as they call it, and on the other side you have outputs, which would be your neutral line, and then you have conditions in between. And when the conditions are all true, that circuit becomes true, and then that function executes.
Very specific.
I mean, the way it's written is almost as if it's the lowest logic you could have, right? I've never quite gotten an answer whether that's the actual bits in the program or not. Is that right, or is it just a representation
You are
of that?
manipulating things at quite a low level. If you're manipulating a bit in like something like direct logic, that is actually a bit. You're not representing like a tag that is a bit somewhere else. You're messing directly with memory. It's not quite as low level as assembly, but it is very low level, yes.
No, to me it's interesting because in engineering school, even as a mechanical engineer, you have to learn some programming. I'm sure Max did that as well. You said you were kind of forced into it, correct, Max?
Yes, and I'm grateful for it. Like my first,
Right.
I never did programming, never. I was always with computers, like from a very small child, like 4 years old, I was with the computer. I know them in and out basically, but I never got into programming. And then at university, I kind of thought it was already too late, to start it actually. And then we had this module, programming 101 basically. And the teacher wasn't that great in explaining it to us. Like we really didn't learn much in his lectures. And I bought the book. It was like we learned C#, which is like the standard Windows program language, I guess. I think Minesweeper is done with C#. So for those that are not into programming, they have an example what you can do with it. And I read the book. I thought, okay, I need to learn this. I need to pass this module. So I read page by page by page. And I actually did 200 pages,
Wow.
did all the exercises. And I think I'm quite happy with my knowledge so far. So
That's interesting. So now, Max, you're not a mechanical engineer, but you're something. What's your engineering degree in?
product design engineer. So it's
Product
a little bit
design.
like mechanical engineering, but more for consumer products.
Okay. As a mechanical engineer, which I guess mostly the same, we had to take a electrical engineering for non-majors class, and I got the impression that they'd put the worst professors in there for the mechanical engineers and maybe it's the same
Okay.
maybe it was the same for you.
Could very well be, yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't say that. What was that?
That could be the case, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, why would they put the best in there? It's like, oh, it's the mechanical engineering department. Why waste our best
It's
professors on
waste of
that?
time, yeah. They made us program like a model for a gas cooker. So they said, take a gas cooker. I want a program that is like a gas cooker but digital. So you can put pans on the oven, turn it on, turn it to different levels. The flame size has to change. I want you to have an oven in there so you can program the oven to start the next day at 2 o'clock and go for like 10 minutes at 200 degrees, stuff like that.
Oh, so are you actually doing like a PID loop and stuff, or was it?
I don't even know what it is, but to those listening and have and have no idea how this works or how they would do this, that was my situation, or all our situation of my friends as well. We had no idea how to do that. We kind of helped each other. We worked on this for like 3 weeks straight. Every day we were in the computer labs programming and learning how to do this. And they forced us to do it, but now we knew how to do it and everybody actually learned it. So it's definitely learnable if you just apply yourself. That's the message I got from this. And it opens up a whole new
Very
world
cool.
of working, I can do so much stuff now that I was never able before.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's the great thing about engineering school or any school. it's sad to say, but there's a lot of things that I've forgotten or haven't used from school. But at the same time, I was able to learn that at some time, and you learn that this stuff that seems impossible, like calculus or thermodynamics, you study it enough, you could put your mind to it, and you can do it. I mean,
I'm still not convinced that anybody really understood thermodynamics.
I like thermodynamics. I got I think it was 97 on my first. Well, that's a whole different story. But I actually had to take it twice, so that's why I got such a good grade on the first test. But once you get to the end, it's like, oh, I understand all this. It's just, my grades could be a little better at this point.
Yeah, but at the end, grades don't matter very much.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you get that first job, and then if you do good stuff, then hopefully you can con your way into better and better jobs over the course of your career.
Yeah, definitely.
Or you quit like you and I have, and work in our basements or whatever.
Yeah, and I heard Alex wants to do the same soon, or not?
Well, a buddy and I recently met up, and we're discussing this whole entrepreneurial aspect of things. We're trying to get into the realm of making music for creators. We want to do royalty-free music. Seems to be somewhat of a hassle online, so we're trying to tackle that by making music that is more suited for soundtrack stuff and potentially mixing music for people who have very little time or desire to do that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I can attest to that myself. In my videos, I try to come up with some free music to use, and I've used the Free Music Archive or something, and you can find some stuff, but after a few videos, it's like, well, there's 20 songs that are pretty good, and then you just have to recycle them. And actually, on the last video I just put out yesterday, Alex did the sound for it and the mixing, and I've been quite pleased with it. So hopefully that'll continue.
I really liked it. The sound was pretty good.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that was a chiptune effort. My very first chiptune effort, actually. I tried to reach back into my childhood of days playing on the NES.
That's pretty impressive. I mean, so what kind of music is your normal
Well,
genre?
honestly, most of my life I've played rock. Anything from metal to grungy to even, there was a small phase where I played emo type stuff. Guitar, drums, bass, keys are what I typically play. Wow,
that's pretty good variety of music. I wish I could get into all that. I just never. I don't know. I took a stab at playing bass when I was younger, but I haven't picked it up in a long time. My son found my guitar and he's like, "Oh, can you play that guitar, Daddy?" I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I can, and maybe I can't."
Yeah, I wish I had learned an instrument as a kid. Because when I hear a great song, like, I listen to Stevie Wonder and I think, oh man, I want to make something like that. Just like one song.
Yes. Yes, it is. I know exactly what you're talking about. You get this, you hear this inspirational melody, and you're like, I want to create something like that. And it got deep in me. I want to get to the point where I can create a masterpiece one day. We'll see if it can happen.
Yeah, I guess it's the same with design. I see objects, like cool stuff, and I think, man, I wish I would have come up with something like that.
So Alex, I mean, music is your kind of your entrepreneurial vision right now, but this isn't your first stab working for yourself, is it? I mean, I know you've dabbled in aquaponics. What I think people would love to hear about that.
Well, I haven't actually done anything practical with that. I've done tons of studying, tons of research, and I've done more programming wise for that than anything else, because I actually made a basically a little simulation for what the ladder logic would be doing in that situation, controlling lights and stuff like that. That was me just being bored. I just wanted to live out the dream that I couldn't afford to pay for. But as far as other hobbies I've done that were entrepreneurial, I did have an idea for a form building website, and I would go into that, but it's not that I have a secret. It's just that it's kind of boring.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I know you told me a little bit about that. We don't have to discuss the specifics, but I was like, I don't know if I should ask him about that or if that's a sore subject or what, because I know it's something you've been, I guess, working on for a while.
Yeah.
Right?
So I mean, basically, it's a form for inspections, and it's hard.
Wow.
It's hard to find. Yes, it sounds very exciting. The problem is with it, the people who are conducting these inspections, they frequently have trouble typing quickly, either due to the device they're using or just their inability to do that. So the goal was to be able to create a database of phrases. So whenever they encounter this inspection item in the field, they can type the first couple letters or a set of letters from anywhere in it, and then enter it and make things go faster. And there were obviously a lot more features than that, but that was the key one that I wanted to hit. It would have been the sales
So you could
point.
say like engine lights check, something like that?
Yes, yes. Yeah, and you could, or, hopefully it would be something longer, uh, like if we're sticking with the car model, we'll say air filter was replaced with an HVAC filter for some reason. We took that out, or something like that.
Oh, so it would be like an app. So you just type in air filter, and you like a car mechanic does it like every day.
Right.
So you would just have to type in air, and that would probably come up first.
Exactly. So if there was, and they would be ranked by commonality. So the things that were most commonly found would be at top, and the least common would be bottom.
I think that's a great idea.
Thank you. It's the reason I bailed. I actually came very close to in this latest version. I just started thinking about parting ways with my real life job, and I didn't want to put myself in a position to where I wasn't treating my customers right, and I was also treating my employer badly by giving them divided attention. So I saw kind of a choke point, and I put it on hiatus for the, somewhat near future. It's not going to happen for a while.
Okay.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, have you ever considered just doing such a bad job that they fire you?
I was actually afraid of that. So
All right, so as I think we mentioned, Max and I both work for ourselves. Kind of like Alex was saying, there's some good and bad things about it. What do you see, Max, as the best and worst aspects of working for yourself?
The worst aspect is definitely lack of colleagues, I think. I find it much easier to concentrate and to be motivated and actually to be productive when I have people around me. I had the same at university. Like sometimes on the weekends, I would go to the library and just work there because I would see all the other people that are working. So it's easier for me to work myself.
See, I was the exact opposite. I would go to when I was in school, in college, I went to the library, but I went to the lowest basement and made sure I was by myself, so I would see nobody, because I just had to be by myself to concentrate. It's just, I don't know. How do you see yourself, Alex? I know you like to work for yourself.
yes,
I guess, right?
yeah, I'm more like you on this one, Jeremy. I share the love that Max has of working with people. It makes it so much more interesting to bounce ideas off people. But when it actually comes to productivity, I need to have like laser focus on what I'm doing, and for that I need solitude if I can get it.
I entirely agree. I mean,
Yeah.
when I was in, I guess to keep going back to college, but I was in college. It's nice to have sometimes things for people to bounce ideas off of. But at the end of the day, I gotta just be there and bounce things off myself, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess being with people is not working with them directly. It's more like, the banter in between,
Yes.
having a break.
I do miss that, but I mean, there's nothing productive about that, though. I mean, as for me, it was at work, and I think I actually worked at the same place Alex does for quite a while, and
Reliable sprinklers?
there were, yeah, I did. It was a pretty good. It was a
It
pretty
is.
good place to work. I can honestly say it was.
I like the
It was-
company name. It's as if like there are so many unreliable sprinklers. We need to come up with a reliable one.
Yeah, well, it's to the point, right? Like Max Maker. I mean, what does that guy do? I guess he makes stuff,
Well,
right?
yeah, my parents they had a mission for me.
Yeah. Well, my last name's Cook, so I guess I'm defying the odds, doing something different. But yeah, where we worked before, I mean, there was like one guy. I remember I attached a it was like a biscuit, like a I don't know if you had the same thing in Germany, but there was like a biscuit from Hardee's. Yeah, with like sausage and
A biscuit with sausage in it.
so I guess that's not like a exotic food or anything. But anyway, so he was a little bit shorter than I was, so I stuck it in the ceiling panel and I set up a GoPro camera to see what he would do. And in the back of my mind, I was hoping that he'd come in and start like jumping and trying to get the biscuit, but he never did. He just got. The weird thing is, he looks at the camera and he looks over there, and then he got, the two women that work in the office and got them to come in to complain to them, and I don't understand. I guess he thought they'd feel sorry for him or something, but it was. And then he thought he thought it was me because, I'm 6'4". I'm the tallest guy there. He's like, Jeremy, you're the only one that could have done this. And so I tried to show that I couldn't do it because I'm not quite that tall.
Did you do it or not?
But,
did you do it or not?
Oh, I did it, but I still didn't share.
This is how you lost your job and Alex got his.
No, they didn't fire me after that. That's why Alex hasn't been fired yet. He's at such a low bar to live up to. That Jeremy did this. I guess we can't fire Alex for losing the Allen keys or whatever he did that day.
The pranks have really slowed down. Reliables, we've started doing the expansion and stuff with the new building and whatnot, and it is kind of sad. I miss the pranks. It was a lot lighter hearted.
Oh, is a biscuit what you get served at Chick-fil-A?
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, I know what you mean then. It's not really a biscuit, it's like a burger.
Yeah, but the bread is different.
It's like a Chick-fil-A, you get it in the morning. I don't know.
The bread is different. It's a lot more floury. Like a burger has this it's just much more like a regular bread, but the biscuit is like the consistency of the bread is much different.
I want to go to Chick-fil-A because I saw this I don't know which YouTube channel it was, but it was a guy that worked at like these fast food restaurants for 24 hours straight. And it was really well made. I think it was from the channel Bon Appetit. And he was at Chick-fil-A and it looked really good. The stuff they did and the pride the workers had in their work.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, for fast food, Chick-fil-A is seems like the top of the. I guess you can bleep that out if we're bleeping out brand names, but seems like the best.
I think we can keep in the fast food names because let's face it, we'll never get sponsorship from them.
That's true. I mean, I feel like it's Chick-fil-A. Back me up on this, Alex, but I think it's like Chick-fil-A, Wendy's, and like somewhere down the line is Hardee's, and then like way below is McDonald's.
Yeah, I loved Wendy's.
And I guess
Wendy's was really good.
Yeah, it's pretty tasty, and Hardee's is pretty good too. But it's just it's you could just tell it's really bad for you.
Yeah,
it all is.
I think Chick-fil-A is definitely in the top. I can agree with that for sure.
And I like McDonald's too. Don't get me wrong. It's just you go there and like I want that double cheeseburger, but should I really be eating this? Probably not. So that's what I have to say, I guess, about that.
Yeah, I think time to move on to next. We didn't talk about the positive things of working on your own. And for me, there's definitely not having to get up and going to work.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, to be honest, I keep a pretty set schedule. I mean, I try to get to quote unquote work at 8 o'clock, but like today, I knew I was going to be working a little later to do this podcast. I guess, again, quote unquote work. I guess I consider this work.
Yeah.
But so at 10 o'clock, I did some exercises because gotta, stay in shape after all the Hardee's and McDonald's. But it's not like I could do that, even though I had an office at work. It's like, it's not like I could just in the middle of the morning get up and start doing push-ups or, yoga or whatever,
Yeah.
So
yeah, you can use your time more wisely, nice. I think, more efficiently this way.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I was thinking about that because it's like per hour you probably get paid a little bit more, at least hopefully you do. But at the same time, I'm probably way more focused on what I'm actually there to do than I did as an engineer working for somebody else. And that's not to say I was slacking off. It's just you got meetings, you got to interact with people, whatever. Whereas if you're working for somebody directly as a freelancer or a small business owner, you do your job, you give them what they want, and then that's it, and then you send your invoices out.
Yeah.
And at the
Every
end of the
minute
month.
I save for myself. I save for watching YouTube videos, for doing sports, spending time with friends. But at work, I have to stay those 8 hours there, or 10 for some people in the world, I guess, not in Germany.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it was one nice thing about Reliable too. They told us it was a 7.5 hour workday, which I was kind of surprised about. I mean, not that it was always that, but that was the official stance of it. So that was kind of nice.
So I think we should move on to the next topic, which is progress. What have we done this week? What progress have we made? Alex, what have you done?
Today I actually was trying to figure out how I would make. So I want users of the data system to be able to define what a shift is. That way we can include in the data that we're recording what shift that data happened on. This is surprisingly difficult in a system that's going to monitor the entire plant. But today I was kind of working on the architecture for how I wanted to do that, and I was kind of designing a module that would accept an input from like a internet web form, and then that could include the shift data, and then that will be pushed into the appropriate table or row.
Wow. That really sounds like you're making quite a big system there.
It is. This might be the potential groundwork for not only just this facility, but the entire company.
Oh, wow. And is your employer going to use it?
Oh, yes, they're already using it.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's pretty cool.
Now, I know you've done some work with integrating Raspberry Pi into like data tracking. So is this using Raspberry Pi, or is it a what kind of system is it?
As much as I would love on a Maker podcast to say that it is not. Unfortunately, securing the Raspberry Pi is somewhat difficult. It doesn't have a lot of inherent protection against those who would like to do ill. So I'm using mainly systems that are kind of tried and true, and really that just boils down to IT approved.
So you're working closely with the IT department?
I wouldn't
in
say
this
closely.
case?
I'm just doing what they will allow me to do. I have to use things that they
Okay.
say will work. I know some about security, but I wouldn't call myself an expert by any means.
So I mean, just so we're clear for the listeners, I mean, you work as an engineering technician. You work for the engineering department, whereas IT is a totally
Right,
separate
yeah.
department.
The
Correct?
information
how that
technology guys, they do they maintain the computers that people would use, and they maintain the database that has the employee records and even probably finance records and stuff like that. This system, they have attempted to manage it in the past, but because they are so detached from production as a ideology, them managing the system is not as prudent because they aren't as concerned with the results of that, because their mission is totally different than production.
That makes sense. Just it's interesting to see, like, at I guess mid-sized company, just how different departments have their different motivations.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess.
Yeah,
for lack
they
of a
have
better
their
word.
own mission and we have ours, and I don't think either of us are doing a bad job. It's just that if your mission is defined differently, the end result happens at different times and it happens with different levels of quality.
Yeah, I think it must be really hard to be an IT guy at a company because, IT guys, they are smart people,
Oh,
they're
yes.
intelligent, they know what they're doing, and then somebody calls them for some really stupid reasons,
Yes,
Like how our parents call us, they call their colleagues.
right. Yeah, can you install this
So
software?
yeah, I kind of have a different take on that though, because I think about like the different kinds of engineers, and you look at an industrial engineer, and like everybody thinks they can do that person's job,
Yeah.
and that's I'm not saying that's true
No,
whatsoever, but you're like, oh, you just put the table here and what there. Mechanical engineers, I think a certain amount of people know they can do their job, and maybe they could, but it's a little more complicated. You got, at least looks more complicated because you got gears and pneumatics and whatever else. Whereas the IT guy, nobody sees what's going on inside the computer. I mean, you could do something totally simple, take you 10 minutes, and just, you can say, oh, this was the hardest thing ever. I'm the hero. Now give me a raise, please. You know what I'm saying?
I think honestly in American industry right now, probably one of the hardest aspects of dealing with IT, or not dealing with IT, working in IT, is probably memorizing all of the different stuff from across like 20 Windows platforms. Because we still have stuff in our plant that is running right now. It's not connected to the internet, but it is running on Windows NT.
NT, that was 98?
I don't know the year, but I will tell you that it certainly doesn't belong in the facility right now. Needs an update.
I think it was between 95 and 98.
Wow.
I guess you're right, because Windows 95 came out in 95.
Well spotted, Jeremy. Well spotted.
Thank you.
Yeah,
and then there was Windows 2000.
And Windows 98, I think that came out in 1998 too, right? I could be wrong about that.
And then there was Windows 2000.
Yeah, I'm confused about when NT came out.
And you know what?
NT should stand for new technology. So like the old Windows editions ran on the FAT32 system, and then everybody switched over to NTFS, which was the new technology file system. So I don't know if that started with 98 or not. I don't know.
So I think I heard that somebody say that Windows 2000 was based on NT. So
1996.
Wow.
But that's Windows NT 4.0. I don't know about 1.0.
4.0 is the one that we have.
3.1 is 1993.
Wow.
But that's 3.1. I don't. And Wikipedia doesn't go further.
There's no knowledge. The knowledge has been lost to the ages. We will.
Well, that was before the internet, right? So how can Wikipedia have known? Since we're talking about old technology, Jeremy and me, we had a discussion about Doom, and we heard this rumor that somehow Doom is a 2D software. Do you know anything about this, Alex?
So I think that this is possible. Because if you've played any of those games like Doom or Duke Nukem or anything, have you ever noticed that if you spin around the enemies quickly enough, that they're two-dimensional?
It's been a while since we played these games. I mean,
20 years.
Okay, so if you spin around the enemies in that game, you can see that they actually look like what are those things called? Fat heads or cardboard cutouts of people. If you spin around them, you can see they're two-dimensional. There's a plane, and on the plane is the cutout shape of an enemy or an avatar or what have you.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So I think the way the world is rendered is it's kind of rendered in front of you as a two-dimensional plane, and then it changes based on your location, like your projected location. That could be wrong, but that's how I understand it.
So maybe you see them as skewed images, like as projected images, the angles of walls and stuff.
That's what I think happens. Yes.
So Jeremy, what have you made this week? Okay,
I guess the coolest thing that's come out, I released a video on my Arduino case with built-in strain relief. Alex actually helped me with the music as I kind of mentioned earlier. So that was kind of cool to see that actually, I guess, come to fruition. I guess the neat thing about that too is it's a project that I wasn't thinking I'd even produce. It was just like, oh, this is kind of neat. And then, you think about it, maybe it is cool enough, and I kind of need to see that come together, I guess. Probably the more interesting thing from I guess the maker perspective, I went to the New York Maker Faire this last week actually, so that was really cool.
I wish I could have been there.
Yeah, it was great. I got to, I guess the nice thing about something like that is you get to see a lot of the people that you, at least in my perspective, people that you work with, and even got to represent Tindy. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but it's
oh yeah.
Okay, yeah, kind of like an Etsy for electronics, but I got to represent them for a few hours, and that was, it's exhausting doing what amounts to a trade show, but it's kind of fun when you know about the product and you enjoy it. So that was pretty cool.
So how did you represent them? How are you involved with them? Are you part of the team?
Yes and no. Like I write for their blog, so like if I see something cool that somebody's posted on there, I can write it up, and they pay me for that, I guess. And so in this case, since I was going to be in New York, they asked me to be at their table for a few hours and basically just talk about what their product is and what they do. And I don't know, I really enjoy it. I'm not like a totally extroverted person, but it's like when you understand something, it's kind of fun to just talk about it, I guess.
Trade shows, if it's just for a few hours, it's nice. If it's for 10 days, it's the worst week of your year.
Now, didn't you go to a trade show recently in your caravan, as you say?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, caravanning trade shows are the worst because the people are usually old. They're usually retired. It's not old people.
So
I
you
like
hate,
old
hate
people.
old people.
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting.
No, the thing is they're retired. And this trade show that I've been to, it's the biggest, I think, in Europe, maybe the biggest in the world. I'm not sure about that, but definitely the biggest in Europe, definitely the biggest in Germany. And it's a big trade show for RVs, camper vans, motorhomes, camping stuff. And the people, they spend their holidays there. They arrive like 3 days early. There's a giant campsite right next to the exhibition hall with, I think, 30,000 stayovers over 10 days. So 3,000 people stay there at one night. And the people, they walk around this trade show. They don't necessarily want to buy something. They just want entertainment.
So how did you entertain them?
That makes it really hard because everybody wants to chat, even if they're not interested at all in the product, and you have to chat with them.
Well, yeah, that doesn't sound like much.
10 days straight, 8 hours a day. Horrible. I'd rather go to specific trade shows where there are, business people, because business people, they just want to do their business to go home.
Yeah, I was there. I did that for 4 hours and I was exhausted. So I can only imagine for 10 days, 8 hours a day. That sounds
that's a run.
pretty hard. So
Yeah.
I guess Max, you didn't really talk about what you did though this week. Anything?
Oh, this week, yeah, the trade show was a long time ago. I upgraded my CNC a little bit. I built a CNC from scratch. Some people probably have seen it on my YouTube videos. So it's quite a big CNC. It used to be bigger. I made it a little bit smaller to fit better into my workshop. But the Z-axis, I saved some money on that basically. And I didn't use these proper rails and the proper lead screws. I cheaped out on it, and now I finally had a little bit more money and more justification to spend it on it. So I had a friend of mine, he built me a new Z-axis because he builds commercial CNC machines. So he has the design and the tools and the parts, so he just made me one.
Huh, that's awesome.
It was cheaper than, constructing my own, because that would have taken me probably 1 or 2 days, I guess, plus making it. And yeah, I installed that, had to modify it quite a bit so it actually fit, but now it's super sturdy. Like I can yank on the Z-axis and it doesn't move a little bit. So really pleased with that.
Oh, that's excellent. Well,
Yeah. In preparation for the next video.
That's awesome. Well, we can't wait to see what you come up with, using that then.
Insane.
Yeah. And you worked on your CNC just a few weeks ago, right?
Yeah, I did. I had some problems with the bed of it. It here in Florida it's extremely humid, so it was only locked down on the outside with bolts. So I had to fly cut the surface again, and then just put some more bolts in and stuff. I guess with that, I actually purchased that CNC because I don't know. I guess I could have built my own, but it seems like I wanted that to be something that I used to make stuff rather than be in the project itself, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah, so it's been a good thing. That and I just moved, so that's been my big project, trying to set up my shop again and stuff. So it's been a.
And what brand CNC is that?
It's a Romax, so I'm sure you can.
Romax. Okay, I don't actually know that.
Yeah, it's not a really well known brand, but it seems like, for the price, it seemed like a really good value and looked like a decent machine. It's been pretty good so far.
Yeah, it's great to have because you can make literally anything with it. There's no project where you say, "Oh, I can't do this, I can't do this." You can cut anything.
Yeah, it's pretty nice, and I don't know if do you have a 3D printer, Max?
Yeah, Ultimaker
Okay,
original.
I haven't gotten one of those yet. I keep thinking like, I don't know. It's just with the CNC router, you can use any material, but 3D printers do have their advantages. So
Yeah, it's easier to set up.
yeah, that's nice.
If I put something into Cura and slice it, and then it probably takes me not even 5 minutes, 2 minutes maybe, and it's set up, put on the SD card, put in the printer, and I know it's doing its stuff. I don't have to look over it all the time. But with the CNC, it's much more complicated. Tool changes. The software is not as automatic,
Yeah, that's true.
You can cut something in 10 minutes or in 10 hours, depending on the settings.
Nice. I actually saw something at the Maker Faire. It was a smartphone-based printer, and it used, I guess it's called a STL method, a stereolithography method. So it's actually going layer by layer with this visible light. And it was, I think they were on Kickstarter for like $220. Obviously, you got to provide the smartphone, which, realistically cost.
Oh, the smartphone is the projector?
The smartphone is a projector. It uses a visible ink or visible resin, I guess. Looked really promising.
Okay.
I'm very very hesitant to support a Kickstarter just because it's by nature an untested product, but
Right.
I'm really tempted as far as that one goes.
Sounds cool though.
Yeah, it looked great. I mean, the quality looked excellent, but on the other hand, he wasn't actually using it at the time, so yeah, it's always a little bit. There's always a little bit of skepticism.
This might be a slight bit of a tangent, but speaking of Kickstarters, did you guys see that bracelet that was supposedly project an image onto your wrist that was interactive?
I think I might have seen it, but not the video, just like a...
So,
yeah.
oh, basically what you're talking about, Jeremy, your skepticism is very healthy because they fabricated the entire thing, but they ended up raising I think it was $100,000 or $250,000 for this device. And
Wow.
yes, people were buying into it like crazy. And there's a YouTuber who I really like, Captain Disillusion. He made like a 3-part video series debunking their bracelet. It was so good. It was so well done. He makes really good videos. It's really good production.
To go on Kickstarter, they want you to have a prototype, and they want proof that you have a prototype. So you send them a picture. That's all they want. But then with photorealistic renderings, you can't see if it's a prototype or not.
Right.
So you could just as well fake it.
That's pretty funny.
I think, or I thought back at that time, they had so many, stupid products that I think already exist, going away for a lot of money. And I thought, let's do an oil, a general purpose oil. You would just take normal machinist oil, package it in little bottles, put a nice logo on it, and sell it like for $20, and say you can use this for anything.
And I guess that would be true, right? You could use it for anything.
It's machinist oil, It's like the stuff you use for sewing machines. I do use it for everything. It cost me like €1.50 a bottle.
Wow.
People would love that on Kickstarter. They would say, "Oh, look, they came up with their own oil." Obviously, I wouldn't do that, obviously, because it's not the right thing to do. But there's so many crazy projects on Kickstarter. And I think, when are these people going to wake up and actually be critical about them?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I mean, I think a lot of websites tend to avoid critical reviews and maybe just don't review something.
Oh, just curiosity. Have you ever heard of snake oil before?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I was about to say, it would be so funny if you hadn't heard of that, but you invented that about the oil, like the parallel, like the genius of you accidentally
that's what
coming
I was
up with that.
That was part of the joke. That's what I was thinking
The
about.
snake oil.
I should have mentioned snake oil.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
okay,
that's a lot funnier than.
Yeah, because I was sitting here thinking, I was like, he just came up with snake oil on his own.
I mean, I think that would be pretty interesting as kind of a joke, maybe not as an actual product, but I think people would buy into that. Maybe not.
Yeah.
You just have to market it correctly.
A few weeks ago, there was this. They had a laser cutter. There's like it looks like a little GoPro session, like a tiny cube on a tripod, and apparently you can just put this tripod on any surface and it engraves for you. Which, it's first of all, it's a tiny cube. Where's it getting the power from?
It's solar powered, right?
Right.
Oh, of course.
It draws its power from the environment.
Exactly, like your body heat.
From
And
your
then
body.
for lasers to actually cut, they need to be in focus. So it's not going to work, let's face it. But they made a lot of money, really a ton of money.
Yeah, I don't know why. I guess I keep thinking like you put that on top of a steak or something. I guess it's about dinner time here, so and then just fillets it for you. I think I heard fillet somehow, so hopefully
It's only going to engrave or cut paper.
it could maybe work. Maybe. I mean, if it was set up at the right distance, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
but
of course, you got to get a power supply somehow.
you
that's
need
the
that,
problem.
and it needs to be. Well, yeah. The thing is, if the laser is at one point and the laser doesn't move over the object, it's going to be at a different angle and a different distance away from the object or from the point it's cutting or engraving.
point.
Yeah.
That's why they have these Z theta lenses, I think, in stationary lasers. And for laser cutters, they move the head around, so you get 90-degree cuts.
No, I mean, I think it's healthy to have some skepticism, especially. I heard somebody say, well, if it worked and they were ready to go, why wouldn't somebody fund them? Why do they have to go into Kickstarter? But
Oh,
some cool stuff
Kickstarter,
come out of there too.
you know, in 2012, when it was really starting up, people spent crazy amounts for basic stuff. Like some guy, that's what always I kept in my memory, is he sold precision machined dice. So the center of gravity is literally in the center of the dice, despite the holes that were drilled. And like the people, they went crazy. Some people, they spent, I think over 80 people spent $600 each on dice. Yeah, you get like 6 out of brass, 6 aluminium, 6 stainless steel, tungsten carbide even.
I mean, tungsten carbide is pretty cool, but I'm not spending $600 for that.
It's great. Yeah, if you drop it, it breaks, I guess.
It's true.
All right, I think this is a good time to end the show here. So if people want to find out more about you, Alex, where can they follow you and your software, your projects?
Sure. I can be found on social media at Aptly Undecided. And to keep up to date with our new music, visit rnasounds.com.
I think that's definitely a good idea, the music thing, because we always struggle finding good music and the right music. You know, it needs to fit.
Yeah, that's what we were trying to do.
Fit the situation.
We want people to reach out on social media or email and ask us to find music of a certain type, or at the very least search through a catalog with relevant tags and descriptions to make finding the right sounds easier.
Perfect. We'll be your first customers if we can afford it by then. Jeremy, where can we find you?
So I'm on social media. I pretty much only use Twitter. I'm at Jeremy S. Cook. And keeping things consistent on YouTube, my channel is also Jeremy S. Cook. So, and for that matter, jeremyscook.com takes you to my YouTube page. So that's pretty much my deal. You know, you might see me writing for different websites and blogs, but that's, you know, kind of a separate thing. You know, like do that. Now, what about you, Max? Where can we find you?
My Twitter handle is @max_maker_YT, and Instagram is max_maker_YouTube. And of course on YouTube, I've got a new video coming out hopefully this week. Stay tuned for that. And how about you, Jeremy? Are you working on the next project?
Yeah, I guess I don't know. I'm a little undecided. My next project, you know, I did a lot of work putting my garage together, so I'm thinking maybe I'll do a video on that. Or
of course,
I'm also thinking I need to get a new microphone stand, so I've got a design for that in my head. So we'll see. I got a lot of things in my head. You know, one of the 20 projects will eventually come out. So we'll see.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening to us. I really appreciate you. If you've got any feedback, criticism, comments, just post them on Twitter, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. Thanks for being our guest, Alex. We really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you, Alex.
Oh, thanks for having me, guys. Thanks very much.